This is the webinar, Better Digital Tools for Fleet Commercial Optimization, brought to you by Seaber. Our guest speakers from Seaber today are CEO and co-founder Sébastien Chaubarry and Chief Revenue Officer Jean-Guy Forbert, who will be leading a half-hour presentation for you. If you have any questions for them, please do type them in the Q&A section and they will be answered for you after the presentation. Now, over to our founding editor of Digital Ship, Carl Jeffrey, to explain more.
So today we're going to talk about digital tools for fleet commercial optimization, or in other words, how we can use technology to find the best way to connect the cargoes you want to move with the ships you have to move them with, whether you're a charterer or a ship owner. And our company presenting today, Seaber from Helsinki, has software tools to help you do this better. Their clients on the chartering side include Neste, Stora Enso and Preem, and on the shipping side, their clients include G2 Ocean, Wilson, Alba, Forest Wave and Ultratank. And the software has algorithms to calculate the best way to allocate vessels to cargoes. And it's got a great visualization tool which you can use when applying your domain knowledge to doing this, such as understanding what the risks might be. And you can see what the ship will be doing at any time in the future. And the reason allocating cargoes to ships is hard is that there are so many different pieces of data to take into account, and they're all provided in different formats. So that can include data from your emails and instant messages, bunker prices, and your own knowledge and experience about reasons vessels might be delayed or their cargoes might be delayed. And your goals are not always the same. They could be reducing idle time or reducing fuel costs or operating expenditure or maximizing profitability. And it's impossible to manage all of the data using spreadsheets. And we hear that many companies still try to do it that way, but they do it by missing a lot of the data out. So with software tools like this, you can have all the data available in your workflow. So we're going to hear today from Jean-Guy Forbert, who's the Chief Revenue Officer at Seaber, based in Toronto, and then from Sébastien Chaubarry, CEO and co-founder, based in Helsinki. We're going to have a presentation of about 30 minutes, beginning with a talk from Jean-Guy. And then we'll take your questions at the end. So I'd like to invite Jean-Guy to start the talk.
Thank you, Carl. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us today for this special session. Very pleased to be hosting it on behalf of Seaber. We know your time is valuable. We're very grateful to have many of you from all over the world, whether it's early morning, night, or the afternoon. It's a testament of the shared commitment we have in this industry to move things forward and innovate. My name is Jean-Guy Forbert. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer. I spent the better part of my career helping companies modernize legacy systems and processes, often acting as the executive sponsor on large-scale digital transformation projects across North America, Europe, and Asia. From port logistics to global SaaS deployments, I've seen firsthand how outdated tools, especially spreadsheets and siloed planning systems, really slow things down. They create blind spots that are completely unaware to the user and ultimately cost organizations a lot more than they realize. I've had over 75 conversations in the last 2 years with prospects and customers alike in the 4 corners of the world, and everyone shares a lot of the advice and concerns that I will be sharing with you today. So a lot of the facts and the data that I am sharing come directly from those conversations. And that's exactly why we're here today. This session, how digital tools are transforming commercial planning and shipping, is all about showing you what's possible when we shift away from reactive to manual planning to digital data-driven decision-making that is harnessing the power of integrated data into your day-to-day workflow. We'll walk you through the real cost in time, in money, and the missed opportunity that represents itself when you're using these outdated processes and systems. We'll show you how shipping companies are reversing that trend with the right technology. We've seen a steady shift in the market over the last 2 years on embracing planning tools, scheduling tools, data integration tools, AI, machine learning, and we'll walk you through that today. I'm joined by Sébastien today, who's our CEO and co-founder. He brings deep maritime experience and a passion around our product. He'll walk you through some of the real world use cases and a little bit more about our platform and show you a real live example of how it works. We'll have some time at the end for Q&A, which is the most important part of the webinar today, is you engaging with us, asking us questions, and I'll look forward to that session. Once again, thank you for being here. We sincerely appreciate your time, your curiosity more than anything, and your willingness to explore a smarter, more collaborative future for commercial planning and shipping. With that, I'll get to it. So when you think of the maritime industry, it moves billions worth of cargo every year. But for many companies, the tools that they continue to rely on for critical planning haven't really kept pace. And many of those decisions are still being made, and no one's going to be surprised, I'm sure, by Excel. We're talking about very complex, high-stake decisions like cargo pairing, voyage routing, and schedule optimization. All of this is being done using spreadsheets, disconnected emails, and old legacy processes. The result, we have slower reactions, missed opportunities, and unnecessary costs. Today, we want to show you a better way. We'll walk you through how data-rich digital decision-making platforms like Seaber are helping companies rethink how they plan and optimize their commercial teams. You'll see how these platforms can help you improve your vessel utilization, enhance your cargo matching and pairing, reduce wasted capacity and ballast legs, and drive more profitable data-backed choices across the board. We'll also show you a live walkthrough of Seaber's platform in action. Nothing speaks louder than actually seeing the system and how quick it is, how powerful it is by integrating data into your workflow, how it's going to give you an opportunity to work in collaboration with your global teams. And I'm excited to show you what it looks like. And I think once you see how you can compare voyage options that are available at your fingertips in real time, how it helps you calculate commercial impacts to your decisions, but more importantly, it'll empower you and your teams on the commercial side, the operation side, and the finance teams to really collaborate with confidence because of this technology offer by integrating real-time data into your day-to-day. By the end of today's session, I hope you'll walk away with a clear understanding on how small planning changes enabled by the right tools can unlock big results. Sebastian, do you want to go to the next slide? So this slide is about the costs. And again, I'm representing data and conversations that we've had now for over 2 years. And I have flown all over the world. I've been in Singapore. We've been to all through Europe, North America. And these conversations in South America, by the way, sorry. We've actually had these conversations. And these are not just me regurgitating what we've discovered on the net or on the web. But these are real, actual conversations that I've pulled into this webinar to make this more relevant to your day-to-day and what you do and what you face on a daily basis. And it's not just about the costs. We don't always see the balance sheet, but they're very real and they're very expensive. And let's start with just revenue opportunities. When voyage planning relies on spreadsheets, you end up with suboptimal routing, idle vessel time, and poor port coordination. And that leads to underutilized capacity and missed fixtures, which is so important to the commercial teams. And that means that our ships aren't making as much as they should and as they could. Then there's fuel consumption. Everybody cares about fuel EU and decarbonization and lowering our carbon footprint in the world. Inefficient planning, especially when driven by static and outdated data, can cause ships to burn more fuel than necessary, increasing both operational costs and emissions. We also can't ignore the manual time wasted. I don't think I brought in the slides, but so when we've now met with our clients, they save on average between 6 and 8 hours a week from just reducing the amount of manual exercise that goes around pulling data and switching off to a different system, or collecting a sticky note from Susan in accounting, or that manual process, by deploying tools like Seaber, can save you 6 to 8 hours a week, making your job and your role so much more efficient, so you can focus on the real strategic value that your company needs in building stronger relationships to, your customers, or making decisions that are faster so you can remain competitive and more nimble in this very, very complex and competitive world. And obviously increasing the bottom line and helping you with profits and cost management. And finally, there are hidden costs, right? There's missed cargoes. We'll show you how we can ingest data from email collaboration platforms that can present you market cargo information at your fingertips, so you don't have to go sort through thousands of emails. We'll show you how we can ingest port costs, so that you're not, again, chasing data and coming out of your workflow to, bring this information into some real powerful decision making. We're going to use a tool to do that. So we'll show you all that kind of stuff, where you can piece information together from emails to PDFs to disconnected systems, which always delay and put a hampering on your time for decision making and creates room for error. And finally, there are hidden costs, right? I talked about the missed cargoes, the demurrage charges, and lost days at sea, and they all chip away at your margins. And these aren't just operational headaches, they're commercial losses. And I can't give you names of our customers, but trust me, when I've spoken to our prospects and our customers globally, they all talk about the commercial loss, right? And we'll go through a little bit of that in a little bit. And they're all avoidable. Thanks, Sebastian. You're queuing me up, right? That's good. Let's talk about something that's not always obvious, right? But it's costing this industry millions and millions of dollars. Even the best run fleets, and listen, I have seen incredible commercial teams that know this inside out, like no one does. But even the greatest teams with solid operations, decades of experience, are still bleeding value every single year. And the culprit, and I know you may not expect it, it's Excel. They're Excel spreadsheets that are running these very critical parts of our business on static, outdated information that we have to pull together, that we have to collate across 10, 20 different data sources. So in my opinion, these are manual planning errors that represent themselves. They're disconnected tools, and they're all being used to solve the most complex, high-stake decisions that we have to make in commercial planning and shipping, and it's costing us. So let me break that down a little bit. So let's just say that you're missing route optimization opportunities by taking the long way or sending a ship with empty space without even knowing it. That's $100,000 to $250,000 per vessel every single year. Your fuel over consumption, because you're not planning around real-time data, that's costing us $150,000 to $400,000 just gone, just that quickly. Port delays, demurrage, miscommunication, poor coordination, you can add another $50,000 to $200,000. And the big one, this is the one that is far more discussed with me than anything else, is that they all fear that they're missing commercial opportunities. So having empty space, mixed fixtures, we become less competitive. Not taking the most profitable route, that's up to $500,000 per vessel. So even things like reporting and compliance, when they're manual and slow, they're error prone, and they can cost you between $20,000 and $50,000 just at that compliance and reporting level. So let's just take a step back and zoom out. Multiply that by 10 vessels. A lot of we've got clients who've got 120, 160. If you multiply that by 10, you're looking at $2 to $5 million in preventable losses, right? Every single year. And none of that is because your team's not working hard. It's because the tools they're using weren't built for this job. They're not fit for purpose. right? They've been used for 10, 20 years in some cases. And it's time that we do something about it. And there's opportunities in the market to help you with that. So with that, I will hand this over to Sebastian, who will share a solution to this aging problem and host a live demo. Sebastian?
There it goes. Thank you very much, Jean-Guy, and also the arranger for this webinar, and everyone who's globally listening to this. So let's dive into the solution and basically go through how the system works. Before I share a demo, we'll just share a couple of slides to highlight related data and the complexity. And this is not an exhaustive data set, but this gives a picture of the various data sources that we are importing into the system, which then the optimization algorithm is processing. And some of this data is simple and straightforward static data used for the setup of the system. But then there are other data types that are more dynamic and updated continuously as the time goes on. And then there are also data sources which are not just simple data, it's data that has been optimized already. For example, it could be a weather routing system that is being used. And then we can import new route and speed profiles according to that. It could be bunker optimization that is done separately that can also be used, or then other related data. So there's a lot of optimization systems in use already already today in different parts of the organizations and the prospects we are talking to. And then we, depending on what systems are in use, we can then hook up to those systems, take in the data into Seaber, and provide that optimization engine to the users. Might also be alternative or in addition, data lakes where all the data is stored, and then we are able to use that as well. So this is just to highlight that despite there being a lot of optimizations out there, we are able to use that data and use those optimizations as well as a part of the Seaber optimization. And if we're looking at the system overview, just a very high level use case where basically everything starts from a cargo and the user is able to then either drag and drop on the vessels or the contracts, single cargoes, or then even parcelings, and create these scenarios. And then when a scenario has been created, everything is updated continuously from the ongoing voyages as well. So any delays will be taken into account. And then based on this alternative opportunities that is out there, the user can then continuously also optimize the scenario to make sure that they at each given point have the optimal solution, optimal scenario. And this we have heard a lot of times that there are various companies that hire consultants and they're looking into data and historical data in terms of what could be optimized and how the business could be improved. And they're talking about 15 to 20%. But of course, that's in hindsight. So the question is how to get access to that saving potential. And by having a tool that uses all the data that you have and also external data and continuously be able to support the user in their daily decisions, that's where you can access that saving potential. And of course, that will not be able to achieve all the 15 to 20%, but we have seen customer cases with up to 7% savings just by using Seaber. And with that, I will now jump into a demo. Let me bring this in here. I'm now assuming that you all can see the system. So now, just a disclaimer before we start. This data is all created by ChatGPT and might not be relevant to specifically your trade. But as mentioned, the customers are using their own data, so that will be reflected when the system is set up. Now, everything in Seaber starts with the cargo, as mentioned. And up here we have the cargo book. And this is then data that can be inserted directly into Seaber. It can be from various external sources, the email systems, voyage management systems, ERP systems, depending on what's in use. And so that's the one important part of it, cargo book, having that in place. Then below we have what we call a timeline, and that's then the vessels that you're controlling. Each vessel have their own time swim lane, so to say. So there's possibility to see what's the plan and for the future. Now, each of these boxes are visualizing a voyage. And a voyage could be one single cargo, or it could be like in this case where we can expand it and we can see that there are two different parcels loading in different ports, discharging in different ports. So we can also play around with the port rotation if that's the case. Now, in terms of how the planning and the system is supporting the user is, starting from a simple use case, we have a cargo here. We can simply drag and drop this to the timeline. And as quickly as that, it calculates the distance from the discharge port to the loading port, also the laden voyage distance and duration, and then the loading and discharge time as well. So here in the system, it's not only about the schedule, meaning the time. It's also includes all the financials related to that voyage. And that then can be presented here like a TCE, where basically based on the data that's been inserted or imported, it calculates the TCE. In addition, we also have, you can see in this case, for example, there's a warning. We have a challenge with the previous cargo, meaning that either in this case there has to be a cleaning or there has to be a different vessel selected. So that's kind of like the main and the simplified use case when selecting a cargo. Then we can take the next step and ask the system to suggest a voyage. Then we will have some criteria that we can set. And then as quickly as that, you will be able to see that this specific cargo and all the alternatives we have considering the fleet position. And it also calculates the financials and again checks for all criteria. Might be, like in this case, the previous cargo, but also draft restrictions based on what has been loaded on the vessel and the port limitation it's going to. Now, that's one cargo basically for all the fleet. We can also select several of these cargoes and do it at the same time. Now, that means it will result in these three cargoes now simulated at the same time on each of the vessels. And this is a very good example of a case where you have a few alternative cargoes and a few alternative vessels, and then you want to compare those. Then we can turn it around and we can say that, hey, for a specific vessel, now let's say Jessica Jones, we're going to look at what are the options I have in my cargo book for this vessel. And then I define the criteria, and it starts to look into all the options, selecting all the orders in the cargo book, and then we'll see comes up with 10 alternatives. And then you can easily check and see that if there's any specific cargo that, because of any reason that is not defined in the system, couldn't be taken, or then simply select the one that is most optimal. And here you can note as well that there is one cargo or a couple of cargos here as well. And this means that it has identified that actually you could take some cargo and put in on this ballast voyage between Bangkok and Muscat as well. So the system supports improving already planned voyages as well. So where you have ballast legs, where you could fit in some cargo, it covers that. Now, then, in order to create a scenario, I can use any of the mentioned way. I will now select a bit more cargos here and ask the system to come up with a suggestion. And this means now that it took all those cargos and suggested on the whole fleet, what are my options? And now I can just simply, for the case of this demonstration, just quickly select here to build up a scenario using those cargos. That quick, I have now planned 10 cargos on a...
Oh, we lost your sound. Oh, no sound. Perhaps...
We can't hear you, Sebastian.
You're not saying.
Give him a second. He's going to jump back in.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Sorry about that. I hope you didn't lose me for a long time.
Nope, it's good. It's
Right.
just the last few minutes. That's it.
Okay. Yes. So, but anyway, I hope that the demo showed basically what I was doing. So just to summarize on that one, I selected now almost 10 cargos and asked the system to suggest all those cargos on all the alternatives, checking for the criteria, and then quickly just selected them one by one to put on individual vessels. So this is an example of how you quickly can create a scenario, either then if it's your cargo under contract of affreightment, or if you have spot cargoes that you are looking at to look at alternatives, or then just template cargoes for the future that you know that, hey, this is something that we are either considering or something that is coming up. And now then, when I've created a scenario like this, I can duplicate this scenario up here. So now we have two alternative scenarios. And then for this scenario, I will run optimization, and this then asking the system to show improvements. And now then, with the given criteria, the system runs through all the scenario and all the planned cargoes, and then highlights improvements. And then with these improvements, I can then select them and make sure, run through the whole scenario, make sure that it's optimal at each given point. And remember that everything is changing continuously in shipping, so this is something that you then can run through very quickly and make sure that you have the best alternative in use at any given moment. Now, then I can accept that and see if there's any other improvements. Okay, there's another one, and then we can run through this. Okay, there's a ballast distance reduction, but actually the cost is a bit higher, so we'll leave it at that. And now then I can go and compare these two scenarios. And this is where basically it boils down to that you can see then the profit difference directly, just with a couple of changes like that, which was identified, can save you hundreds of thousands. So with that, we can get back to the Q&A later on. I will hand over to Jean-Guy for summarizing up the presentation.
Slide 9, Sebastian, thank you. We're kind of running a little late, so I'm going to speed up my summary and all that wonderful stuff. I hope you can see how you can make decisions with real context backed by, the latest data. So the currency is quite current. You can work globally, and we have these concepts even inside our own culture, where we believe in working out loud and crowdsourcing. So they're pillars of our technology, but they're pillars of our culture. We hope you can see how you can build up your own scenarios, using your own set of KPIs, bringing all that information into your workflow without having to chase it into multiple systems and leaving and coming back. So under the hood, Seaber's leading optimization engine is constantly working to match the right cargo with the right vessel under the right contract, right? So factoring in availability, routing, costs, and priorities. And the result of that is that you get higher utilization, more fixtures, and better earnings per day across the entire fleet. So this is a case study. I don't know what the format is of reaching back out to this group of people on the webinar. I'm not going to read this, but if you drop us your email or drop it with Carl and Digital Ship, we'll definitely send you the pitch. I don't want to go through this in detail. It's just to show you that, we have some pretty powerful case studies. This one here was pretty obvious to us that there was so much benefit and value to this organization. Even through some real downturn in the economy a few years ago, they had to right-size the ship, they had to right-size the organization, and they went through a procurement process where they were eliminating all of their capital expenditures around system implementations, consulting, and so on. Seaber is the only company and the only software that survived all the cuts. And the only reason I can attest to that, and I speak to this client regularly, it's because of the value they're gaining from using the system. They're saving millions of dollars a year. So we'll send this to you. I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'll just wrap this up because I know we're running out of time. Can you guys still hear me? Yes? Okay.
Yep.
So thank you so much on behalf of Sebastian and myself today. We know your time is valuable. We're truly grateful that you chose to spend part of your day with us. Whether you're navigating operations, commercial planning, or long-term strategy in maritime, we hope today sparked some ideas and gave you a clearer view of what's possible with modern tools to meet today's industry needs. At Seaber, we're passionate about helping shipping companies move beyond outdated processes and unlock real measurable value through smarter scheduling, better visibility, and data-driven decisions. A special thank you to all of you that have joined us from all over the globe. It's been an absolute pleasure to connect with such a diverse and forward-thinking group. Another special thanks to our wonderful partners and hosts, Digital Ship, along with Farah Ribbons and Carl Jeffrey. We look forward to your continued conversation, and we'd like to do a deeper dive. I don't know what the format is. We're always available. Our contact information's below. And why don't we just open this back up to Carl and open up questions if you have.
Very good, Jean-Guy. Well, we've got 5 questions, and I've been looking up everyone's name on LinkedIn. I see they're all from shipping companies or charters, which is amazing. If you just want to stop sharing now. I'm just taking some LinkedIn information. I think Amit Mishra is a fleet performance subject matter expert at Shell in London. He's equipping your real-time data. So how are you getting the real-time data for speed and consumption? So I don't know if he's asking what you're integrating with. So Sebastian.
Yeah. So that depends on the source, and this would be then set up. We have third-party software providers who can provide that information on a generic basis in terms of global data. But then I would assume that you have some kind of performance monitoring system in place where this data is available, and then that is something that can be updated in Seaber.
Okay, there is a follow-up question, which is one question you probably won't want to answer online, but he's asking, what's the expected cost of this arrangement for vessel? Do you just want to say, we'll follow that privately with you? Is that the normal answer?
It's not one size fits all.
Okay, so next we're going to Netherlands. Jeroen Leenders, Manager Marine Services Department at Kenship. So he's asking, so say you've got multiple cargoes in different accounts in one port. I mean, I suppose you could cancel. You showed how you could handle 10 different cargoes in one go. So I suppose your software's got no problem with that.
Yeah. So with various accounts, I'm assuming that is from various customers, and everything in Seaber is, as mentioned, the starting point is from cargo and individual parcel perspective. So they can be linked to different customers and completely isolated from that aspect. So you can even give access to your customer to see how it's proceeding if wanted, and he would only see that specific parcel.
Okay, so Lucas Sherens is Fleet Performance Engineer with CLDN in Ghent. So you're sending me back to Google now. How do you ensure the suggestion is the best possible combination, which basically is a NP hard problem, which means a non-deterministic polynomial problem? I think he's basically saying, how do you know you've got the best solution? I'll imagine your answer is you don't know, but you're comparing different options.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can never be 100% sure, but we are using heuristics combined with brute force to get to speed up the optimization process. That's so far it's been a good balance.
Very good. So now we're going to Bulgaria for Ara Hachmerian, who's the Marine Data Insights Specialist and also Assistant Professor at Nikola Vaptsarov Naval Academy. His question is, how do you simulate routing, port rotations, bunker plan? Do you have integrations with third-party apps? I mean, you're not simulating any routing, you're sort of calculating.
No, exactly. So we use, as a starting point, we use the distances, the shortest distance between loading and discharge port. And then the actually optimization of that route, that would be route optimization software providing that. We also have partners on that side. But that, of course, depends on how much in the future you're looking. If you're looking for the coming 2 weeks, yes, you have weather forecast available. But then after that, you can use statistics, and the weather forecast is not very accurate. And in terms of, so we are using the shortest distance, and then the port rotation or the loading and discharge port for the individual parcels, and then the laycans, and also we can include delivery dates of the cargo, using then the bunker consumption of the individual vessels, port cost, historical port cost. We're using the median value for specific that ship, that cargo in that port, and all this is baked into the process, where then the optimization is looking at what would be the optimal port rotation for these given cargoes.
Oh, very good. And Trond Orestad has got another question you probably won't want to answer. He's the enterprise architect, corporate AT at Odfjell in Bergen. He's asking if you want to name your competitors. And you probably don't want to name your competitors online, but imagine it's all the chartering software companies. We all know who they are, and the one in the west coast of the east coast of the state.
I'll deal with that one.
Okay.
I'll deal with that answer. Of course, we have competitors. We have Dataloy that has a scheduler that's included in their voyage management system. But again, their purpose behind building this massive system was to manage voyages, not to do prefixture optimization and scheduling. So I appreciate their technology. I'm not here to bash anyone. It's just a different fit for purpose than what we do. I think our biggest competition is status quo, is just people relying on their old spreadsheets that have been running the business for many, many years. And I think that's always a hard transition for me to convince someone to abandon what they know inside their Excel spreadsheets and trust in the data and the planning and the scheduling that we offer them inside our tool. So I think that's our biggest competition, is having people take this migration journey with us and embracing a new technology to replace legacy processes.
Yeah, I mean that was the biggest question that occurred to me. I mean, you know, when you see the savings, I mean, that was very conservative saving, the 5 million. When I was adding all your numbers up, that was like if you get the lowest of each of your option and multiply it by 10, so it could be much bigger than that. But I suppose the thing about Excel is people feel in control. I mean, so many of our discussions end up being psychological discussions rather than technical ones. You know, you feel you have your own data, your own screen. I guess that's a.
Carl, they are. I mean, modernization projects that I've been involved with for the last 20 years, they're not just about shifting the technology, they're about shifting the human part of the way they work. So that's always the challenge with software technology, right? Is that you're bringing in a new way of working using this integrated framework, and bringing people on that journey is often a human problem, not just a shift in technology.
Yeah, and it's also you thought a lot about this and how you develop the software that the person feels in control. You don't need to use the AI if you want to do it all yourself. It's still much easier to do it with these sliders than it is by using a spreadsheet. I imagine that's something it seems like you thought about very carefully in the planning of the product, wasn't it? I think.
Right. It's something we're really proud about, is that when we implement our technology, we absolutely take an opportunity to observe the way they work today. And we use that to create gaps between Seaber and their old ways of working. And we use those gaps in a change management project to help them come along. And our process is very agile. It's 4 to 6 weeks, they're up and running. And we're there to sit by their desks and observe and keep helping them throughout this process. So we're very careful about bringing them on to this new journey using a very good methodology that is proven on adopting this change.
Yeah. Well, what about for smaller companies with say 2 or 3 ships, and they might keep sending cargoes sent to them by a broker or something? Is this still relevant to a company in that situation? Or...
Well, in general, it depends on you know, if you have 3 VLCCs, you know, there's no complexity in that. So then there are other challenges. But even with 4 or 5 ships, if you're doing short sea and parceling, then that's a huge amount of savings. So it depends a bit case by case. It doesn't necessarily fit all, but specifically now when there are more regulations coming in place, everything is getting more complex. There's so many factors that you have to take into account. Then even those that usually or traditionally was a bit more simple has a big need for a system to support and make sure that they are taking everything into account at any given moment.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about how you're evolving the software? I mean, it sounds like it's a big problem. You've built this software that solves it, but I guess every company is always developing things. What's the
continuously.
Right. We're very careful about this too, right? We build from the outside in. So we meet with our clients regularly, and we have those that participate in innovation kind of discussions on nice to haves, must haves, things that they see that are really important. So we really bring those requirements into our software development lifecycle by building it from the outside in. We can look at our belly buttons all we want, but our best source of requirements comes from our customers.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, I mean, we have everything is built in-house, developed in-house. So we have our own development team and continuously developing jointly based on the customer requirements, as Jean-Guy pointed out, and doing continuous deployments. So it's a very effective engine.
Yeah, I'm thinking about all these emission regulations, which make it more expensive to go into different parts of the world now, or different fuels available in different places. I suppose that's a this could
Yeah,
be
that's a good point. That's another optimization challenge again. What fuels to use and what technology to install on your vessels to make sure you're compliant. In our aspect and in our product, we call it emission impact. So depending on the strategy and the cost of the emissions, that's something that we are taking into account in the calculations.
Yeah. But the biggest factor, like you showed on that graph, was the availability for cargo. I suppose it's like that's what companies care about the most. They want ships being available at short notice, or they want to.
Of course. And then the market situation it depends, and the freight rates and bunker prices and so forth. And I think we are historically in a very unique situation considering all the what's happening in the world. So let's see how things changes and how companies are using their vessels to the maximum in the future.
Yeah.
But I think there will be changes continuously, as we've seen the last 5 years.
Yeah. Jean-Guy, do you want to add anything to those questions there? I don't know. So Sebastian answered them all quite quickly. So looks like we don't have any more questions, but I don't know if you want to.
Well, it's when we look at our ideal customer profile, we do have small customers, right, that have a small number of ships, but they have very complex routes and complex parceling that they do on a day-to-day. So it's not an easy answer, right? It's like, is there complexity in their day-to-day to do scheduling and optimization and cargo matching? And a lot of people are looking at digital transformation just to accept a new standard in the industry. So a lot of them are interested in just sunsetting the old Excel spreadsheets so that they can work more collaboratively with their 2 other commercial team members that are sitting in Singapore. So it's not just a simple math equation on complexity. It's that, this offers you an opportunity to digitize, to, reduce the amount of human error because you're using old data. The minute you put a piece of data in an Excel spreadsheet in one cell, it's outdated already. So there's cost to running the business on old Excel spreadsheets. So it's not just the size of a customer, the number of vessels they have. There's a lot of hidden costs that people are trying to eliminate by bringing in software like Seaber's to replace, the old stuff. So, like Sebastian said, we have small clients that have small ships, but we have big ones too. And they're in the middle somewhere. It just depends on their business problems, their priorities, and what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, well, the collaboration, that's something you didn't mention, but I imagine this is very useful. You can have your brokers, your charterers all looking at the same screen. And is that the way most of your customers?
It's more than that. It's management too, right? I mean, we have CEOs and CFOs looking at side-by-side scenario comparisons to see how much they can save. Like their teams can share their work, share their scenarios with, once they're done working inside their sandbox, they commit it, they share it with the team, and then other people can contribute, look at it globally, right? So I can go to sleep and leave my scenarios there for a team in Singapore to contribute and like build their own scenarios off of mine and say, listen, I found some really cool optimization opportunities where we can reduce our costs and all that stuff. So yeah, there's a huge benefit here to collaboration inside the platform too.
Yeah, well, the key performance indicators, because I think the example you showed was one of them was you're reducing the idle time, you're reducing the profit, I think, at the same time, wasn't it? I don't know how that happens, right? Because all these things play off, don't they, with different options, but it creates a way for people to discuss it, I suppose, doesn't it? That's
Yeah. The collaborative aspect is huge, much bigger than I expected initially. But we have seen that companies sharing this various plans, that triggers also a way of thinking about it and highlighting opportunities. Okay, I didn't think about that, and that itself also improves the efficiency of the whole organization.
Oh, very good. Well, I don't see why any company wouldn't use this, since you've got these million balance of assets and opportunities to save with a relatively small investment in software. I guess. Do you want any closing words you'd like to leave our audience with before we finish?
Yeah, I mean, these decisions are not easy, right? It's a calculated kind of opportunity where a lot of people just don't know about technologies like Seaber, right? So I think there is a transformation going on in maritime. You know, we've seen voyage management systems over the last 5 to 10 years be adopted. We've got all kinds of wonderful new tools and software that can help you with understanding your costs at a very, live data level. Seaber is just another one of these things that is just its right time now. And I think what we're seeing is momentum gradually building in the industry around replacing, the old process and old Excel spreadsheets. And we're very excited about the future of what this technology can do for the industry. So, so thanks for listening. It's been a wonderful
you so
webinar.
much.
Thanks for hosting as well. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Very good. Okay. Well, thank you. We'll pass back to Farah for the closing words. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian and Jean-Guy, for joining us today and our audience. Should you have any more questions for Seaber, we'll be sending you contact details soon with a link to this video recording on our YouTube channel, which you can subscribe for. Also, don't forget to share your thoughts on our survey, which should be appearing on your screen shortly. Join us next week on the 29th of April for our next webinar with Opsilog, which you can book for on our website. See you soon.
All right. Cheers.